Hello. So, sorry if I look a bit of a mess. I am in bed ready for sleep, but I wanted to make a quick video because today I had the hardest and most raw therapy session I think I've ever had. And I've been in and out of therapy for about 16 years, on and off. So that's quite substantial. Basically, I had emailed her and I said to her that I needed some support with anxiety, that my anxiety was incredibly high and that I'd been feeling really overwhelmed, and that any strategies or anything that she had would be helpful, because I knew I'd struggle to verbalise what I needed today. So my anxiety just rose and rose and rose before I got there. And by the time I got there, I went into the room, I was sort of breathing quite shallowly. I could not sit down. She normally, if I'm a couple of minutes early, she'll be in the other room and then she'll come in when it's time to start. So she, when she came in, I couldn't even sit down. I was just sort of pacing up and down the room, and she sort of looked at me and said, "How do you feel about sitting on the floor?" And I just went, "Better." So she sat on the floor with me, and we stayed on the floor for the whole session. And actually, that was really helpful because I find the floor to be. Sorry, one second. I find the floor to be quite a safe space. Wait a minute. I'm just adjusting the light because it's on a timer. So I find the floor to be quite a safe space. I often, if I'm really overwhelmed at work or whatever, I'll end up sat on the floor. So that was a really helpful suggestion actually. I don't know if you've picked that up from before when I've said that sometimes I end up sat on the floor at work and stuff. I sort of was super overwhelmed and I just sat down and I was sort of curled up and really, really struggling. And we spent the session not doing anything heavy, but she went and got a speaker at one point and asked me what I'd been listening to on my headphones when I came in, and then got her Alexa to play some of that music. So we were listening to music that was familiar to me, and she got out a pad of paper and some pens, and she was wondered if you wanted to put something on the paper. And I looked at her because that's just way too vague a task. I sometimes struggle to do tasks like that anyway, even with more direction, never mind when I'm at my most overwhelmed. So she said she said I recognise that might be a bit too vague, and I was just yeah, that's definitely too vague. So then she thought of drawing, we've got a metaphor going on at the moment of a boat and what the scenario of this boat would look like in different situations, and when things are bad, what the water's like, what the surround is like, whether there's anything else around, like. So we sort of, in combination, like drew this image, and she started doing it, and just checking with me, like, does that look accurate, does that look right, like, is there anything about like these waves that looks wrong, is that what the boat should look like. And I managed to do some of the bits of it, when she asked if something was wrong or right or whatever. I managed to actually take the pencil and do some of it myself, which I don't always manage that sort of thing. So that was good. And she didn't ask me any heavy questions, really. She asked me if I had any thoughts about, like, if there were any thoughts that were worrying me, and I said no, like, it's just all feeling, it's all like overwhelmed and like panicky type feelings and sky high anxiety, but that there weren't really any thoughts, there weren't any coherent thoughts attached to it. So I was struggling because I can't even rationalize it. There's nothing like connecting to the thoughts, like there's nothing connecting the feelings to any thoughts. So I don't know what to do, and I don't know how to get around that and what to do with it. So yeah, we basically just spent the session sat sort of talking over this metaphor, drawing it, and at one point she like tried to do something with, so she's got some coloured stones, and she got the coloured stones down and said, like, if it wasn't nighttime in this scenario, if it was daytime and there were any other objects around, can you pick out like a stone to represent what those will be? And at that point I just like completely froze and like panicked, like completely lost it. I couldn't do it. Like, I couldn't think what they were supposed to be or which stone was supposed to represent whatever they were meant to be. And then I basically went into some, like, a panic attack. Like, started almost hyperventilating, breathing very, very shallow, and like she kind of talked me out of that, which was really helpful. I don't think I've ever got to that point in a therapy session. Like, I'm always very honest with what I say, but often my face doesn't match what I'm saying. And that's been picked up by other therapists before, and like in group therapy, and by some like friends and colleagues and stuff, where they'll say, like, what you're saying sounds really serious, but you don't look like it is. So there's like a disconnect between the two. So yeah, I'm always normally honest with what I say, but it's not always portrayed, and I don't always. I never usually allow myself to get to that point around other people, particularly like professionals and things like that. Like, I don't think I've ever had a panic attack in a therapy session. But she was really good with it. It was raw and it was really fucking difficult, but I think in a good way. I think it's a good sign that I feel safe enough with her that I can get to that point, and that I feel like it's okay to like show her what my most overwhelmed is in a way, and not push it down and push it down and push it down and it come out later. and she was really helpful and like made me sit up straight and put my shoulders down and like relax and take some deep breaths and relax my jaw and roll my neck around and put my arms in the air to stretch, like stretch my diaphragm out and stuff. So, and she said to me, like, your body knows what to do, you just have to let it do that. You have to give it the space to regulate itself, and then it won't feel so out of control. And I mean, she was right, it did help. So yeah, that was quite intense, and I was super drained afterwards, but I went to work. Then I got a phone call from the lady who did my assessment last week, and she was just sort of like checking in, and she asked me how I was and how I was feeling since the assessment, and I was very honest with her, and I said like I hadn't been good and that it basically had triggered like a mental health crisis for me, and that I was struggling to know like what to do with it, and that there was like a lot of feeling there and not much thought, and yeah, she sort of reassured me that it was like a completely normal response. She said she sees that quite a lot, which was actually really reassuring because a lot of the things that I've seen and heard online are all about this relief feeling. So to hear a professional who gives diagnoses out say, actually, this isn't unusual. A lot of people feel like this. A lot of people are really overwhelmed. It's a big thing to take in and process. And like I've heard that from a couple of other people, but I think to hear it from her was very helpful. And she let me know that she was going to be sending a draft of my report today. She asked me whether I wanted a draft copy before it went to my GP, and I said it'd be nice to look over it in case I want to make any changes or whatever. And she said, yep, that's absolutely fine. I will be sending it this afternoon. I can't be specific, but it will be before 4 o'clock. And she said, if given how you're feeling, would it possibly be a good idea for you to have someone with you or someone nearby that you can speak to afterwards once you've read it? Which, I mean, good shout, to be honest. So I wound up asking my supervisor in the end if she could be around, and we had like an hour and a half ish, maybe, meeting, maybe even, yeah, around that, where we both read over my report, and then we had a chat about work and my mental health and what was making things so overwhelming for me at work, because I've been quite unwell recently, and I've definitely been more unwell like consistently since I started this job. And she was very supportive and said like that shouldn't be what work does to you. We need to work out how to help and what it is that makes it hard and what we can do about it. And I'm not sure what those things are yet. There's a lot of things that I'm not aware I struggle with until like either I work out a solution. Like I sometimes discover a solution before I realise there was a problem. Like with the supermarkets, when I one day wore headphones in the supermarket and then was like, oh, this was calmer. Like I don't feel quite as stressed as I normally do when I'm in a supermarket. And just worked out that actually a lot of how stressed I was all of the activity and all of the noise around. But I hadn't realised that until I just did the thing by coincidence. So there's probably loads of that sort of thing where I feel the feelings but don't know where they've come from and I don't know what's contributing to it. So that's very hard to then put adjustments in for. It's hard to know what I can suggest. So I think I'm going to have to try and work that out over a while and over a period of time. But she's told my manager for me because I couldn't do it. I couldn't have that conversation. I've told another colleague who I do some work for, who's very supportive and lovely, and she sent me a couple of really nice emails, and we're going to meet tomorrow morning. And my supervisor is also going to email HR because I said I was happy for them to know now, and then we can maybe set up a meeting at some point or think about adjustments first or whatever. But for now, the focus I think is on just like keeping the balance and letting me process things, and let me just take it in before feeling like I have to do something, because I think that's where a lot of it's coming from, is like I feel like I've got this diagnosis now and I need to do something with it. What do I do now? Where do I go from here? What does it mean? And actually maybe I just need to take it in and process it first and work out what it does mean, but I don't need to know all of it right now. People keep saying like, don't forget you're still the same person. It hasn't changed who you are. It feels like it has. It feels like it's a new identity that I've just been given overnight, but it's not like it's who I've always been. And although I don't really believe that, I'm trying to tell myself that because I don't know that I really believe it fully. Yeah, so I think getting the report helped, actually, like seeing it in black and white, because there's almost a part of my brain that was saying like they're going to realise that actually no, they were wrong, you don't have it, you're a fraud or whatever. But I got the report and it is a really accurate summary of the whole assessment and everything I said, and there's not one correction I need to make in it, which is rare. I have received a lot of like letters in the past, and normally there's loads of inaccuracies in them. But no, this was spot on, and still she has come up with like the conclusion that nope, you do have this. And seeing that in black and white, I think, has been helpful, actually. And I saw like an article thing that someone posted online today that I could actually relate to. So I keep on finding things that I'm like, no, I can't relate to that, no, I can't relate to that. And like my brain is focusing on all the reasons that I'm different to all these other people with Asperger's. But there are obviously loads of things that I relate to. I did a load of research. I pulled out loads of examples from my own life. I had a colleague write a letter with all these examples of things that I do that I hadn't even realised that I do. So it fits. It's just working it out how it fits, I guess, and where it fits and where I fit and what it means. What parts of me are linked to that, like, yeah. So overall, last night I made a post on Facebook that was like really determined. I came home, I had a bath, I made a hot chocolate, I wrote in my therapy journal, I decided I was not gonna like go down without a fight. So that was a bit of a turnaround. This morning, obviously, then I was back to like super overwhelmed. Had a hard day, but by the end of it, actually, I feel a bit better. And I don't know whether that's just like validation. I've had like some really helpful, really supportive conversations. And I think maybe that's helped. I think being so raw and honest with my therapist and feeling so safe in it and her handling it so well, even though it was really hard, is a good thing. Having had the talks with colleagues and my supervisor um, and the other lady who I do work with and stuff, everyone's being really nice and I feel really contained and held, and it's really important. And I think it's starting to sort of sink in. We're like, basically, tomorrow we're a week from diagnosis. So I think maybe it's starting to settle a little bit. So hopefully this sort of crisis, the worst bit, is over. It's like famous last words, I guess, but you know, there's going to be ups and downs, isn't there? There always is. But yeah, I am taking steps to try and change things with my mental health and try and prioritize myself and look after myself. I am talking, I'm being more honest than I've ever been, and I'm trying to ask for what I need. I'm taking a new approach and I'm fighting things head on. And I think finding like inner strength and inner determination that I didn't know I had. And I think probably because I've got some form of hope as well that actually things are changing and that they can change. I think that makes a massive difference. Even though things are really hard and I've been really unwell with my mental health, there's these days and times where I'm a lot more clear and a lot more determined, a lot more focused, and just feel different. Yeah, so I guess I just wanted to talk a little bit about how I felt now I got my report, and talk about the therapy, because yeah, that felt massively substantial this morning. Kind of felt like a key moment. So I'm going to actually get an earlier night than I have been getting, try and get, not enough sleep, but nearly enough sleep. And tomorrow hopefully will be easier than today. And I will update again as and when if I think of anything. Okay, thanks. Bye.